So I thought, why not throw a little bit of news into this week with the Final Fantasy 15 update that is probably something they should have really included at the beginning, and then also we could talk about some of the things I want to see for the future. Huh? Final Fantasy 15 is they're throwing an update out. So I'm gonna talk about the update real quick, and then I'll go into what I want to see for the Final Fantasy series moving forward, and spin-off games that they're just in my head that I think that they'd be really great for the Final Fantasy series to tackle. But anyways, there's going to be a December update for Final Fantasy 15, which I think they should have included at the very beginning. But you know what? We're getting it, and that's all that matters because this is probably something I'd actually go and I think I'd replay the entire game just for. There's going to be character swapping, something I was just so hoping for in Final Fantasy 15. I think that they weren't finished getting all the animations down for the characters like Prompto, Ignis, and Gladio, and it just finally they're finished because they've done all their DLC separately. I think we're still waiting on Ignis actually, and oh my goodness, we're finally going to be able to character swap, and that's going to be awesome. Like to play as, like, imagine playing as Gladio or Prompto. Like, it's something that would totally switch up the gameplay. I think that's fantastic idea. That should have been that's the way it should have been released. I was really hoping for that when I got the game, but it wasn't there. Now we're getting it. Really, Final Fantasy 15, it's going to be a completely different game. It's going to suck for the people who buy this game like 20 years from now and they want to play it because they're not going to get the complete version unless they release one version later on down the line that's just Final Fantasy 15 the complete version or something. I don't know. But really, the game should have launched this way. They should have had all these updates in there for the game. And I'm just glad that we're getting it. So I'm actually thinking I might go and play the game over again because it seems pretty legit. It's something I'm actually pretty interested in to try out. And I'm really excited for it. But I'll leave a link in the description to that video for you guys. So there you go. Anyways, that out of the way, let's talk about what I want to see for the future Final Fantasy installments. More specifically, let's get Final Fantasy 16 out of the way. Final Fantasy 16 is one that I'm really interested in. I want to see what they do. I've heard that there's this one game, I forgot what game that Square Enix had showed off a demo for, but it ended up turning into Final Fantasy 16. If that's the case, it looks like it's going to follow like really heavily on magic and stuff, and that's really interesting because when I saw that trailer, it looked a lot like it could probably be a parallel between by like Final Fantasy 6. It looks like it could be something like that, just not without the steampunk. It looks more kingdom-like and medieval, but it looks really cool. And if that's Final Fantasy 16, I'm all for it. You know, having another woman protagonist, it's hey, it'd be pretty cool. But I want to know how they're going to tackle a battle system. A lot of people are probably thinking, well, they should probably tackle it like Final Fantasy 15. And I'm going to go right up and I'm going to just say, no, I don't think so. Or if they do, they need to do it better. They probably can advance the system that they developed for 15. But what I really would like to see, I'd like to see a return to turn-based combat. Yeah, that sounds weird, but I think that turn-based combat is something that's lacking in the gaming industry right now. Like, we're not getting a lot of games that are turn-based combat, and I think Final Fantasy 16 can be one of those games that could tackle it, and probably even better. I mean, look at Square Enix. They haven't done a turn-based combat game in a while, well, for the Final Fantasy series, but they've done Bravely Default. You have Atlas. They tackled Persona 5. That was really well done. There's a lot of games out there that they can do, not to mention Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 11 is going to be really awesome, just by looking at it. I mean, Square Enix, take some ideas from some of your IPs and then just implement them in a Final Fantasy 16 game. People still are okay with turn-based combat. I don't think that turn-based combat is bad. When I hear people talk about turn-based combat, most people are like, oh, it's so boring, it's you just touch commands. But you don't understand that later on in the game, these commands get really difficult, and like it all matters on your choice and what you do with your turn, and it gets real tactical, and I really like that. So if Final Fantasy 16 could like just implement a turn-based combat system of some kind, or maybe even like an active time battle system, like Final Fantasy 7, or you know, any of the other Final Fantasies, like just that'd be awesome. As far as like the world and characters go, I'm gonna just say Square Enix, do what you do, because you do them right. You do them justice. I'm sure the music is going to be good, but I would like to see a return of mini games, maybe some towns, side quests, you know, other side characters that we can't talk to unless we do something very specific, or something like, I don't know, do like secret characters or something like that. I don't have a lot to say about Final Fantasy 16 because I'm just kind of like, you know what, Square Enix, just go ahead and do your thing, because just do it. I think you'll be fine. Just give us an experience that we won't forget. As for other spin-offs in the Final Fantasy series, I think that we really need to address something that hasn't been done in a long time. A game spin-off that Final Fantasy has done in the past, but they just have not returned to this combat or this style of game. And that's, we need another Final Fantasy Tactics game. I don't know if everyone's all for it, but me personally, I think we need another Final Fantasy Tactics game. You know what? The Switch is out, and Square Enix has showed interest on the Switch. They have said it recently in a statement. I think that a Final Fantasy Tactics game on the Switch would probably be the best thing that could ever happen. Hey, if you could bring it to the PS4 or Xbox One, that'd be awesome too. But Final Fantasy Tactics is something that I think is completely underrated. Not a lot of people enjoyed the Final Fantasy Tactics games until later on. Advance 1 and 2 were kind of bad, but make something as good as like the first one, like the PlayStation version, or hey, you know, the PSP version was also great. Do another Tactics game. That's something I wish for. That's on the top of my list for a spin-off. Tactics game. Remember that, Square Enix. Yeah, okay, so you have the Tactics game, and then there's a remake that I would really love to see, as well as a bunch of other people, I think. When it comes to the remake, Square Enix did say that we could choose the remake, or like it's all up to the fans of what remake we want to see next. And there is a remake. When I think of Final Fantasy like remakes, I just think that which one doesn't hold up as well, or which one would we like to see like animated and like just these characters fleshed out with voice acting. And Final Fantasy VIII is not one I would think that should be remade, or 9. I think those are really they're focused on or what has them going for, like what they have going for them is their music and their animation through like those video cutscenes. Those games tell a story in a really unique way that I just don't think any other game can tackle it, because they had this music just driving that story. It was kind of like watching you know, an opera happen, and just how, you know, you could tell a story through music and just text. It was really cool. So I think those are artistically, they're fine on their own. Especially, they look fine. They didn't age well as like, but they don't look bad. You can still play it. They still have this kind of art style to it where it just works for the gameplay. But the Final Fantasy I think they need to remake is Final Fantasy VI. Final Fantasy VI is that game that I just think that, you know what, Square Enix, this game it's so visually like well put together on a 16-bit platform that it looks so good. I think they need to remake it. And you know what? No, the iOS version does not count as a remake. I think they need to remake it in full 3D models, voice acting. They can do a lot with the characters and the world. I think the world can be created so well that it could probably look something a little close to like Resonance of Fate. And Square Enix, I think you really have the potential to bring Final Fantasy VI to that big scale movie type quality 3D type action platform that you have, and with the active time battle system, or develop some other system, I don't know. But it would be nice to see Terra, Edward, Locke, and like all those characters just come to life, along with Kefka. Imagine seeing the bad guy Kefka destroy the world in Final Fantasy VI, spoiler alert. And maybe him take on like that giant form that he had taken on, like being like a god. It was really cool to see in the Final Fantasy VI game, and I think it would be something that I would love to see in like a remake. It would be awesome. Not to mention, there is one scene in particular I would really love to see just brought to like 3D modeling, or like just movie quality type stuff. Like, I want to see a CGI movie of this, and that's the opening scene for Final Fantasy VI. Of all the scenes that stuck with me in Final Fantasy VI, that opening scene for Final Fantasy VI is the one that I look at and I'm just like, wow. Like, it's one of those scenes that just tells you you're going on an adventure unlike any other. I mean, in that scene, you have these mech suits like kind of walking through the snow, like in all slow motion. You have like this amazing music playing, and then like just the mist of the snow in 16-bit form. It looks so cool. It looks awesome, and they had that music build up, and they had it was almost like watching a movie in a 16-bit form. I really think that scene is the one scene I really want to see the most in a Final Fantasy VI remake. That's probably the only reason I want to see the remake. Like, Square Enix, if you just throw out a teaser trailer like that, I would be happy. Like, that'd be amazing. They did have CGI cutscenes in the Final Fantasy VI Anthology for the PlayStation, but I think it would better benefit for like a full-on remake of the game. So yeah, that's my idea. I think that Final Fantasy VI, that's the one that should be remade. So yeah, that's pretty much it for my spin-off ideas. Other than, like, Spoony Bar did mention a spin-off that I do think that'd be a really great idea. Final Fantasy Extreme Volleyball. For the gameplay, guys. For the gameplay. But yeah, other than that, I don't have a lot of spin-offs because the one spin-off I really wanted was another Dissidia game, and I'm already getting that in January. So there you go. But yeah, anyways, guys, you have been watching The Power Up Mushroom, and hey, remember, if you like this video, remember to like, comment, subscribe. Just, hey, leave a comment in the comment section down below. What do you guys want to see for the next Final Fantasy remake? What are your thoughts on that Final Fantasy 15 update? Are there any spin-offs of the Final Fantasy series that you have an idea of that they should do? What do you want to see in Final Fantasy 16? There's a lot to answer and a lot to talk about in that comment section below. Remember to leave a link to your own videos in that description, or hey, just tell us like, hey, we're joining Final Fantasy Week this week. Check out our videos or something, and the Spoony Bards, Namdi, and my videos. We're doing Final Fantasy Week this week. Every day, new video, more content for you guys. All Final Fantasy, all week long. That's for you guys. So anyways, thank y'all for watching, and remember, guys, when you guys are gaming, power up.